All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about Sage 300 and integrated e-commerce and shipping functionality within Sage 300. I'm so pleased to be joined by Peter Grachik, VP Sales over at North 49. He's going to be talking about the e-commerce component over at North 49, and Matt St. John at Starship. He's a senior sales executive. So he's going to be taking us through the shipping integration with Sage 300. And just a little bit about the companies before we get started here. North 49 is a very well-known established Sage development partner. They have trusted relationships with not only the Sage authorized partners and development partners, but the customers that help them achieve their e-commerce objectives. They also work with payments companies that have integrated payments features within their e-commerce portal. So they're going to be focusing today on the customer portal and the Webtelligence functionality of North 49 and the integrations with Sage 300 and pushing and pulling that data back and forth with the e-commerce web store and into Sage 300. They have developed their partner networks over many years, and they're just extremely knowledgeable when it comes to Sage 300 as a whole. And then they're definitely the go-to e-commerce provider for Sage 300. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Peter will be demonstrating today. And then Starship. Starship is owned by V Technologies LLC. It was founded in 1987, and they're a very mature shipping software product. It connects your Sage 300 system warehouse functionality to the front office, and they have a lot of strong relationships with parcel and LTL carriers. So they have an integration with FedEx, USPS, UPS, OnTrack, LTL carriers like DHL, Holland, UPS, YRC, Old Dominion, and Pitt, Ohio. And they have a very strong integration with Sage 300, Sage 100, Acumatica, Dynamics GP, Dynamics 365 Business Central, QuickBooks, SAP Business One, and Epicor. And so you probably have note that many of these products are the old legacy products. So with that comes a lot of functionality that they have developed over the years. So we're going to be talking about that shipping integration with Sage 300, and Matt is going to show us how it also integrates with Amazon, eBay, Magento, Shopify, and WooCommerce, plus the North 49 portal. So we're going to kick it off here with North 49. Peter's going to talk about e-commerce. Peter, I'm going to go ahead and let you get started. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adrian. So as Adrian mentioned, we're going to talk about e-commerce. North 49 has been a publisher of Webtelligence, which is our full e-commerce suite, very tightly integrated to Sage 300. It's been around for, oh gosh, probably 20 some years. North 49 acquired it probably some 15 years ago and has continued to develop the product. It comprises of a few different components, and I'll get into all that in just a minute. Let me get this advancing here. So e-commerce has become quite a necessity, I think, as of late, and I think the pandemic has really brought this out to the forefront. There was always a trend moving in this direction anyway, but things changed, as everybody knows, through the pandemic, and if you weren't online, you weren't doing business, and that just became a fact of life. And a lot of the things that people became accustomed to over the pandemic are now just ingrained in, this is how I want to keep doing my business forever. So again, this is what the adoption was even prior to the pandemic. A lot of people were doing their research online, if nothing else, and once they did that, most of them preferred to buy online, making more than half of their purchases online. And so that trend just accelerated over the pandemic and became something that just was a necessity. And some recent research by Essential Retail basically pointed out that a lot of folks are willing to change their suppliers if they didn't provide an online option for them. So it's becoming crucial that you take your businesses online. And it's no longer, I mean, it used to be kind of the domain of bigger companies because it was always an expensive and long process to get this done. It's not really that way anymore. It's becoming very attainable by small to mid-sized businesses. And in fact, it actually has a lot of benefits because of that integration between Sage 300 and the web. It really alleviates a lot of the manual work that folks had to do kind of in the early days of web stores. And so just having those two connected just means that there's only ever one time you ever have to enter one piece of data. And we try to make Sage 300 in as much as we can that system of record, and as much as we can make you or allow you to control within Sage 300, the better off. And so do your homework before you pick a solution. One size does not fit all. We think integration into your back office accounting is crucial to save that work and save on potential errors. So make sure you do your homework before you decide on a solution. We've been development partners for, well, the principals have been around for, oh gosh, 30 plus years doing Sage 300 work. We've published a number of products throughout the years, most of them Sage bought, and have incorporated them into the Sage 300 core product. In fact, they contracted North 49 to write them into the product. So we know how to integrate a product into Sage 300. We work directly in the source code. So we've got a deep knowledge of that. We also are on the Development Partner Advisory Council, so we get advanced knowledge of any any new releases. So we're compatible before those releases ever hit the street. There are three real components to our e-commerce suite. They start with a customer portal, which I'll show you the customer-facing side of. There's a mobile sales portal, which can be either part of Webtelligence or part of the customer portal. Of course, the Webtelligence one is far more involved. Sorry, just going to close my window. Someone's cutting their lawn. But I'll show you a little bit of all of these things. Now, we don't have a ton of time, so I'm going to sort of glance over a lot of stuff. I'll go through things fairly quickly. So let me just move on to that, and let me start off with the customer portal. Now, the customer portal is always part of the full e-commerce suite. There's always that element on the B2B side of things in a web store that allows customers to self-serve on their accounts. And this is a live read of data inside of Sage 300 for your customers. The web store has two means of communication, either live, like the portal does, or we do replicate data so that the web store can stay running even if Sage is not running in the background. The portal, however, likes to read data live. So when a customer says, show me this thing, we go fetch it and show it to them. So simple example, we have a click to pay invoice, let's say. So as you produce an invoice in Sage 300, you can embed a link on there, either in that invoice document itself or perhaps in the email that goes out to the customer, which is kind of what we've mocked up here, right? So this link that's on here just contains the URL to the portal, and that will be your domain. So it'll be a subdomain of your domain. So maybe portal.mydomain.com or customer.mydomain, something like that, right? So it'll always be on your domain for your customers to feel at ease. And in there, we embed the customer number, the document number. So when they click that, what it does is it brings up the click to pay form. Essentially, we don't ask them to log in. So basically, at this point, it just ran out to Sage, found that invoice, and brought back the information from Sage on that invoice. So it's this customer, it's this amount, and it's still available to pay. If it were not still available to pay, we would get a message up here saying, sorry, this is not eligible to be paid. They can pay in this particular case by check or by ACH, because that is what my payment processor that's connected to this portal allows me to do as the merchant. And that is relevant to what your payment processor has set up to do. And we integrate to, I think it's about 8 or 10 today, different payment processors. Now when they want to go ahead and pay that invoice, all they have to do is click that pay button. It takes them out to the gateway. They enter their card details. Next thing that happens when they hit send is they get a receipt back from the payment gateway saying payment made. Let me just do that and I'll show you what happens here. This is going out to the gateway. It's going to pop up this. Now you notice here we've now changed our URL. We have now gone out to the payment gateway. We are not in the portal actually handling the credit card. So nor are you by extension handling that credit card. This is now in the payment processor's vaulting system. In this case, it's Paya. Now all I have to do is enter my card number in here and hit pay now, and I'm going to get a receipt back that allows me to print that, and at the same time, I'm going to send, or sorry, the portal is going to send an email off to the AR email address sitting in Sage saying this has been paid. It'll also send an email internally to my AR folks or whoever I designate that email address to go to, saying that this customer has paid what they paid and how much. And also optionally, we integrate to both Slack and to Microsoft Teams, so we can get instant messages going back to the merchant to tell them that something has happened, somebody has paid something, somebody has placed an order. All of that interesting stuff has just happened. So that's the click to pay side of things. Let me take you into the regular portal and show you what that's all about. So this would be customized with your logo and whatever messaging you want to have here. Incidentally, we are both English and French at this point. We will support any language that somebody wants to help us translate. It's a fairly simple resource file to do that. Customers can register in a few different ways. Either you let them self-register, and if they answer this skill testing question correctly, there's a few different things you can put in there. We can grant them immediate access to do that. And there's all kinds of checks and balances in here. We'll send an email off to the AR account saying this person has registered for access to your account. If that's not okay, please let us know. Or you can control that completely yourself. Once I log in, oh, sorry, you control this stuff here as well. That is your welcome message within your control completely. As I log in, I get, oh, pardon me, let me just make sure I've got the right credentials here. As I log in, potentially what can happen is this message can pop up. This is controlled directly inside of Sage 300 Accounts Receivable. On the customer tab here, I think this is customer 1600. So you'll notice here under comments, we've designated a comment type web, and that's this message right here. That's what's popped up on the portal. So you can communicate one-on-one with a particular customer in this way. So if you want some message for that particular customer within Sage 300, you can put that message in there and they will see that when they click OK. Back here, let me just navigate away and back from this guy again, and you'll see that we've changed it to web acknowledge. So we know he's seen that message. So this kind of demonstrates our live interaction back and forth between Sage 300. And this is true in the case of orders, payments, reading invoices, reading orders. Anything that we do is done live from Sage 300. The second possible note that could pop up here is what we call a broadcast message. And this goes to everybody that logs in. And so this might be something about a policy change or something like that that you want everyone to see. And once again, once they click OK, it's flagged, they don't see it again. This is what a customer will see if they've subscribed to all the options within the customer portal. And there are three options. There's the standard portal, which would include account activity, view transactions, probably view orders, and the contact us. You can add online payments, which will include pay account, prepayments, managed credit cards, and then order entry, which is a quick order entry they can do right from the portal as well. Those are the three different options. Just to give you a quick run through here, the account activity just shows them some summary level information about their account, you know, who they are, what their terms are, the last few invoices, last few payments, that kind of thing. Under transactions, they will have access to all of the transactions that sit inside of their AR account by default. Now, you can limit the transaction types that they see here simply by turning these off on the admin side. It's a simple checkbox that says, I don't want to see these. You check it off, they don't show up. But the customer can also filter these down for themselves, down to the specific document they want to see. And when they click on one to drill into it, they're going to see, oh, there's a good one. They're going to see an HTML rendering of that document itself, and they can reprint those documents simply by hitting that print button. They're going to get, again, an HTML rendering of that invoice layout. We ship with this standard view here. If necessary, we can change that view to more mimic your specific invoice layout. There would be a nominal charge to make that happen, but it's certainly doable. They can print that, save it to PDF, do whatever they want to do with that document. What most folks would get the portal as a standalone for is to allow customers to pay their accounts online. And this will expose all of the open invoices that are eligible to pay. They can also store credit cards online, which means, again, we're not touching the credit card, we get the token. And so the gateway passes back to us that token. That's what we're legally allowed to have to stay on the right side of PCI compliance. So your customer can opt to store that card for future use. Now, if you're using one of the systems that's integrated into Sage 300, like Paya in this case, we can actually store that token within Sage 300 so that you can also use it inside Sage 300 to process. So your customer can use it on the portal, you can use it within Sage 300. Something else we allow is prepayments. So 3 different types of prepayments you can do. You can pay an unallocated payment, in which case you just provide a reference of some kind and make that payment, and that just goes onto their account for you to apply to whatever you need to apply it to. You can prepay an order, which will actually go directly on that order so that when you go to ship it, you know you've been paid. So maybe you're taking a deposit, or maybe you want full payment before you process the order. We can do so here. And we can also take a prepayment on a quote, similar kind of a thing there. So those are the 3 ways you can take prepayments. You can look at all the orders, your customer can look at all the orders that are sitting on their account, and we support all the different order types. So, we will support the active, future, standing quotes. You'll see a few quotes in here. If you want to look at this by item, this is really just outstanding items that I'm waiting for you to ship me. So almost like a back order list. Back to that order. So you can see we've got a few different kind of quotes in here. So we've got a quote that's waiting for approval, and we've got one here, an order has been created from a quote. So you could actually create a quote for a customer, have him come here and take a look at it. If he likes what he sees on the quote and it's been approved, there will be a button here that allows them to click on it and turn it into an active order live into Sage. So that can be pretty slick. Actually, you can even get customers to submit for a quote as opposed to an order. And then lastly, the quick order entry function. Now this starts to broach a little bit into e-commerce, but not greatly. This is clearly aimed at your B2B customers. They need to know a little bit something about your product line, because again, we don't have any data on the portal. We're reading this live. So when I want to buy something, I type in something here, I hit the enter key or click the searcher, and we'll bring up everything that satisfies that list, or that satisfied the whatever they typed in there. So the full list of anything that was within that that number of characters. We can display the additional item information that sits inside of inventory control, and if there were a picture here, we could display a picture or multiple pictures of that item. So if they turn that off, they can actually just quickly go through and type like this, hit the enter key, and just add them line by line, just change the quantities. If this were a salesperson logged in here, we have the option to override that price. So we do have the concept of a salesperson logging into this, taking orders on behalf of customers. And you'll notice here we've turned on both the place order and the place quote. Those are within your control. You can turn them on and off. So that's the customer facing side of the portal. And I realize I went through that very quickly because I still need to get to the e-commerce side of things, but I wanted to give you a taste of what that's about. And again, this will 99.9% of the time always be part of a full e-commerce solution. So our web store, Sage Webtelligence, can be for both B2B, B2C, B2E, business to everybody. So, and what that experience looks like is going to depend upon what you want it to be for your customers. We are not limited by any type of design. What we provide is the integration into Sage 300 in the back office to make your life easier on the maintenance and ongoing cost of ownership of that site. So again, we try to put as much as we can inside of Sage 300 so that you never have to maintain 2 sets of data for your web store, and orders again automatically end up in Sage 300. This site is a B2C site, so it's directly aimed at consumers. So it's a little bit more upscale, a little bit flashier, I guess. It provides a lot more things that maybe a typical B2B site may not have, although it could just as well. So a bunch of different ways for you to navigate the site. There's a few interesting things on here that I'd like to point out. These folks decided to make the navigation so that a customer could get to an end product in a couple of different ways. So number 1, by the product family, this is the design, or number 2, by what application they want to have for the product that they're looking for. So they can get there in any one of 2 ways in this case, and that's something that you'd want to design into your site based upon how your customers are going to shop. And so in this case, let's say we're going to go look at the Archimedes product line, and we wanted to look at, I don't know, towel bars and towel rings, let's say, And let's just see what we get here. So here's what we get for the towel bars and the towel rings. And now we've got these filters down the side that let us filter that even further. So let's have a look at this particular product. So what's demonstrated on this page is the ability to have multiple products displayed on a single page. So in this case, we've got an 18-inch towel bar, and we've got a different finish. Let's get one with a picture. A different finish for the product itself. And you notice the image changed as we selected these things. What's going on in the background here is we're actually building a product SKU, the item number, as I make those selections. So these are actually built into the item segmentation in Sage 300. And that really allows us to do interesting things like this. So one product page can represent, well, how many we got here? We've got 1, 2, 3 different ones there. And what do we got? About 6 or 8 of them there. So there's like 24 or 30 different products represented on this one page. And there is a bunch of information that you can have on this product as additional information that you would maintain in that replication component that we refer to as data port. It allows you to do this content management as well. And this is the stuff, you know, the customers also bought this, or you might also be interested in that. So all the things that you've seen on other web stores completely at your disposal to deploy as you see fit to satisfy your customers. So lots of stuff you can do here, really no limit to the design, to the experience you want to have for your customers. So understanding how they want to shop and look at your stuff is important. Now on the flip side, this is strictly a B2B site when someone wants to buy. So these guys have one instance of Sage 300, but they have 2 different websites. They wanted a different look and feel for their US site than they did for their Canadian site. So 2 websites feeding into one Sage 300, which is entirely doable. Now this is aimed at a business user as opposed to a customer. Now, however, it is open so that anybody can come in here and look at the products, they just can't buy. And I'll show you what that looks like here. So first of all, let's look at, I tend to use these guys, I know what they look like. So here's all the product categories inside of, or sorry, the products inside that category. So these are all the subcategories. Notice you got descriptions here. They've got a French language description. They chose to put them in an optional field, which makes it very easy for them to maintain. So it just displays both of them on the same page. When I click on that and I get a little bit deeper, I get a bunch more information in here. But notice there's no opportunity for me to buy this product. I can only look at the information. And they have a ton of information in here. All the related products here, that in this case, they chose to put their spare parts for that particular piece of machinery. We've got documentation in here, and this is kind of cool. It's an exploded parts list for this product itself. So once it pops up here, you could actually even have links on these diagrams. Pardon me for my slow internet connection working from home, as a lot of people are these days. We get this exploded parts diagram that allows them to pick the parts that they need. And again, you could make those clickable so that they could actually order the part directly from there. But let me show you, once I log in, how this experience changes. Now I'm logged in as a dealer. This is one of their AR customers. My first exposure is now to a bit of a landing page with a customer portal on it, and again, very similar to our other customer portal, but with some additional functions, a reorder function, my wish list or my dealer favorites, my purchase history, all these interesting things that are now there. But now as I go to look at that product, I'll see I get a different view. I get exposure to a lot more information. Looking at that, now right here, I could order directly from this page. I've got pricing, I can add it to my cart, I can add it to my favorites list. It tells me I've got product available and where it is. I click into that product, I get, that same kind of information now displayed on the product page. I can, it tells me where I've got the product available, add it to the cart, add it to my favorites, and this is my price as appears in Sage 300 for me that's been set up. So you can see that as a AR customer, my experience is a little bit different than just a transient shopper. And we can tailor those experiences exactly to the way you want it for your customers, regardless. If you wanted to sell directly to the public, you would just have a retail price list associated with the web store, and that's what they would get. But as I log in, I now have context, I know who you are. I know that if you've been set up on terms, I know if you've got a special price system set up for you, and we honor all the pricing inside of Sage 300. So that makes it a very personalized experience for that particular shopper. And that's a whole bunch of information in a very short period of time. So hopefully all I've managed to do here is to pique your interest. And if you want to learn more, please reach out to us. And I know that Adrian will provide contact information at the end. We'd be happy to have a conversation to dig into your specific details, what it is you need, and we'll show you as much as you need to see on the capabilities to get your either customer portal or your web store set up. And so with that, Adrian, I will pass it back to you, and I hope I made it on time.
Thank you so much, Peter. You did fantastic. I'm going to hand it over to Matt, who's going to talk about integrated shipping. Thank you, Matt.
Again, my name is Matt St. John, one of the sales executives here at AtoB Technologies for Starship. And Starship is an integrated shipping solution that is multi-carrier and multi-mode. So what I mean by that is really with the Starship user interface, as a shipper, I can process all my different type of shipments. So we handle LTL, international, domestic, of course, but if anyone out there is currently using like UPS and FedEx for small parcel, and you're using the carrier integrated software like UPS World Ship or FedEx Ship Manager, just know Starship is going to replace programs like that. So as a shipper, I can just basically live and work inside of Starship all day and be able to process all my different type of shipments. So on my machine, again, this is the Starship program. So as you see here, it does live outside of Sage 300. So kind of the nice thing with that is, as a shipper, as I mentioned, I just work inside Starship. I don't need Sage 300 installed on my workstation. I don't need to be inside of Sage 300 jumping back and forth. And as you see up top, we do have different source fields. So we can pull by sales order, customer, shipment, or by invoices. Just know if you do pull by sales order on the right back, Starship can automatically create the shipment record inside of Sage 300. Honestly, most of our clients, they do pull by the shipment record, so I'll just keep that selected for today's demo. And we'll show you how that shipment can be processed inside Starship, as well as the right back into Sage 300. Right? So with the shipment record here, this is our source field. So this is where I can type in the shipment number. If it happens to be barcoded, we do fully support regular wedge type barcode scanners. So you can even just scan in that shipment number and Starship would automatically load it. If not, as you see down below, these are all the shipments I currently have inside of Sage 300. So as Peter was kind of mentioning about their product, Starship's the same thing. It's a live connection to Sage 300. So as we're adding new shipments or making changes to existing ones, just know Starship is automatically going to be picking up those new shipments or, again, any changes that are being made to them. Now, with the manual lookup, we can sort by any of these columns. I can move columns around. As a shipper, I can even add, remove columns. So I can really customize this lookup screen to my likings or to my needs. All right? And we can even add filters. So if we want to filter by any of these Sage 300 fields, we can do that as well. So we can narrow that search result. Some other features that Starship does support, if anyone ever has issues where you're shipping multiple shipments or orders to the same ship to or maybe by the same PO number, we do support consolidating those type of shipments. So here I just click group related, and Starship's automatically showing me, hey, you have 11 orders that are going to the same ship to in Southgate. So I could select all of them, or maybe we only want to get a handful of them out for today. We'll select what we need, click create shipment, and then in this scenario, Starship's simply going to combine all these shipments into one. So again, you're not sending out multiple shipments that are technically going to the same spot. Okay. Other features, we do support batch processing. So again, I can click as many shipments as I like, process selected, have some options, still do that merge related. But in this scenario, when I click OK, Starship is simply just going to be processing all the shipments that I just selected. So caveat to this, we do have to think about it, is we're not going to have the opportunity to put in weights or item box detail. So a lot of our clients that do use this, it's either they're using a WMS system, because with a WMS system, if anyone's using those, however you define the shipping details on the handheld device, that's how it's going to flow into Starship. Okay. And then a lot of clients, they either have the weights, and I'll show you how my system's set up, where it's automatically populating the weights. But for the sake of today's call, I'm just going to grab this one single order, and I'm just going to click Create Shipment. And what Starship is doing is just going to bring in all the shipping detail. All right. So the way we accomplish this, it is a simple data map. So we can take any of the Starship fields and point those to standard Sage 300 fields. I have clients that use user-defined fields to help streamline the shipping process. But we really want to set this up so the less things a shipper has to click, type, touch, of course, the better. So here's our source information. That's the shipment. We're pulling by shipment, our company. We do out of the box fully support multiple companies, multiple locations. We do support outbound out of Canada or, of course, US. Starship has integrations with, if anyone is located in Canada, with the Canadian carriers. So we do also work in Canada. With shipment number, order number, and then even sender information. As you see in this case, I'm actually pretending I'm doing a blind drop shipment. And as a shipper now, I don't even have to change the company information. Again, that's just all simply data maps. So we do support things like blind drop shipments where, we could show like it's coming from someone else or maybe just a different address or just a different name. But again, this is just things that we can automatically automate and that we support. Now, recipient information, that's just the ship to. So that was, as you see, automatically going to flow in. Starship will do address validation. We do validate ZIP+4 as well as the residential commercial flag. And that could be set up to automatically be run. So if there was any changes needed, Starship would automatically make the change for the shipper. Now, the transportation information, this is simply we're going to map in your ship via codes and use those to tell Starship carrier, service, account, even the billing type. So if anyone's doing like prepaid or third party, we can automate that as well. So this would come in and all this information is already populated for the shipper. Right? So again, just things that we want to help speed up so the shipper doesn't have to stop and manually type a billing account. We'll also validate that billing account number when doing third-party type shipments. So Starship's not going to allow a shipper to send out something with an invalid account number. Right? So a lot of different options with that workflow. I do have a lot of customers, of course, that, hey, you know what? I want that information, like a billing account number, to live inside of Sage. And again, we can simply just map that in. So if it's living in Sage, we can bring it in. So it's not living in Starship database. That way you can really just only maintain one database, being your ERP system, in this case, Sage 300. And so again, there's all our transportation information, shipping details, just of course all our shipping options. So we can automatically trigger fields. As you see here, I can even default them. So in this case, I'm always telling Starship to use the carrier email. I even have it set up to only send the carrier one with a delay or an exception. Because with Starship, I'll show you a quick example. We include our own e-notify program that will allow you to design your own custom email templates. All right, now packaging, this is normally in a live environment. The first spot as a shipper is where we go. Because again, we're going to try to automate all this information above so we don't have to stop and drill down into any of these fields. But packaging is where we can get into that item box, or if it's LTL, item box pallet detail. Now, again, if we're using a WMS, all this information can already be defined ahead of time and just be brought into Starship. In this scenario, I'll just manually build this shipment. And for one of these items, I do have a packaging scenario, so Starship knows every time I ship this guest flight, I always put it in a large package that I name large. So it's automatically packaged that for me. If you don't have items that always ship in the same package, we could just have everything come into one default box. And then from there, as a shipper, I can quickly add an additional box or use a repeat box function. And maybe I need multiple boxes. And I can just quickly tell Starship, yeah, I'm going to need 3 of those boxes. But very quickly, I can add packages. And then if I want to get into that item box detail, I can. It's not a requirement with Starship. I don't have to put items in boxes. I have clients that, hey, we ship 100 line items. I don't want my shipper to stop and move things around. So you don't have to. Of course, this one's yelling at me because we need a wait. But Starship's not going to yell if I don't have an item in a box. For example, here, maybe we'll just say the guest book ships on its own. So I just moved that into that second package. And then these drop downs are where you could set up and store your own box types. So you could have boxes, bags, bales, cartons, pallets. We can even bring in the carrier supply boxes as well. So as a shipper, I could select those. And the nice thing with selecting a package that's already set up is Starship would automatically populate the dimensions over here. And then of course, next door quantities, that's just the units being shipped. My system, I'm just basically looking at, hey, what's ready to go, what's being shipped. But we can even set that up where everything comes in as zeros, and the shipper has to manually adjust that. But most clients, it's based off of what's inside 300, automatically come in. I don't have to worry about that. And also in my system with the weights, I mapped in all the weights for my line items. So Starship is automatically populating those weights. If you have a scale that's integrated, you'll throw the box on a scale. Starship would just populate that weight automatically, or a shipper can manually adjust weight. And then next door bill weight, that's the actual dimensional weight. So we are going to run the carrier that's selected above here, their dimensional calculation. And in this scenario, what Starship is doing, it is actually rate shopping now at the 19 pounds. And then when we process this, it's going to go to the carrier at the 19 pounds. So later on, I'm not going to receive that bill from UPS that says, hey, you sent that one out at 11 pounds, dimensionally it's 19, here's the difference. Or now maybe as a shipper, I can see, hey, you know what? Can I fit these items in a smaller box? So maybe we're not overpaying, the 8 additional dimensional pounds, so to say. Okay. So again, that's just packaging. After that, usually we just simply scroll down here, and this is where we're going to see that live connection to your carriers. So any of the carriers that Starship integrates with, we have over 24 LTL carriers, of course, UPS, FedEx. We do support any of the contract options you might have with carriers, even service options like FedEx One Rate. And then even if you're doing international, we support things like having UPS deliver the electronically deliver the documents. So really up to you on, do you want Starship to generate documents, or maybe have carrier send them, right? But in this scenario, just because it's a small parcel, I'm only telling Starship, hey, just show me my small parcel carriers. I don't want to see my LTL carriers. But again, this is a live call. We're returning things like business days, total days, ETA. Published list charges are in this column. Contract charge, that's going to be your live negotiated contract rate that you have with the carrier. Okay, so live call. So that way, if a carrier ups a fuel surcharge tomorrow, when you rate shop, you're going to gain access to that new rate. And then applied charge in Starship terms is simply plus or minus any freight rules. So if you want to do things like, hey, certain customers receive a discount, or it's free shipping over X amount of dollars, we can calculate those. Because the applied amount is usually what we're going to write back into Sage 300 as what you want to charge the customer if we're going to be charging them. So for example, in this total charge breakdown of where I can see, additional charges like fuel surcharge, it's like we have a miscellaneous fee here. Oh, it's peak season, so UPS needs their extra 60 cents. But as you see, we can also see freight rules. So I have one, hey, based on this certain customer, they receive 10%. We can go down to line item detail. So I'm saying, hey, anytime I might have a fragile item, I always use additional packaging material. Let's add a flat rate of $5. All right. So again, different freight rules, and they can be percentages, min maxes, flat rates, calculations. And as you see, we can trigger them by Sage fields or even just Starship fields. Okay. But again, that's going to be that applied charge, where this is what we usually are going to write back into Sage 300. Now we could also do write back rules. Of course, maybe your order came from a website and you already charged the customer freight. So we can tell Starship, hey, in that scenario, do not write back or overwrite the freight amount. Right? Now, even with the whole rate shopping, we can automate that. Maybe we won't have Starship do best way, where it's the least expensive carrier service, or maybe the least amount of delivery days. So we can even set up rules to do things like that, where now as a shipper, I don't even have to worry about making sure we're selecting the least expensive or the fastest, or whatever the criteria might be. Right. So again, now this is an international order. As you see, I haven't had to select any of the required international data information, because what Starship also has is a database for your inventory items. And this again is another area a shipper probably is not going to go and have to click into. But we do this because, maybe inside Sage 300, you don't have a spot for freight class or NMFC codes, subcodes for anyone doing LTL. Again, for international, as you see, I have all that required international data set up and stored already. So again, I don't have to stop. I don't have to fill out anything like a Schedule B code or the country manufacturer. It's all set up, ready to go. And also, if this information is living inside of Sage 300, maybe in a user-defined field, we can also map that in. Again, a lot of my clients, they like to keep everything kind of in one database, being the ERP system. All right. Okay, so again, really in a live environment, we're going to probably do some packaging, get some weight, maybe move some items around, maybe select box types, but then it's rate shopping. And once we're ready to process the shipment, we can click ship and process, or under the shipment, we do have shortcut keys. We can save, we can create return labels, but here I'll do ship and process. And in your live environment right now, Starship's just going to be printing out our shipping document. For the webinars and demos, I like to PDF everything, so it takes Starship a moment for my machine to pop all the different PDFs. And then also with this document, I don't have a thermal printer, so I want you to be able to see a shipping label. So this is just our smart label. Of course, it's just an option. We can send your shipping labels to a thermal printer or printers. With Starship, we can tell it where each of your documents get printed to. Packing list, that can also go to a thermal printer if you'd like. Of course, we can send it to a laser printer, or even, hey, maybe you want to save a PDF copy as to a network shared folder. Maybe we need multiple versions. Maybe we need one to print and one to be saved electronically. So again, with all the documents, we can set up all different printing rules. And then even with the documents, we can customize them. So what we can do is, for example, with this one, hey, it's a blind drop shipment for Tractor Supply Company. I need to show like it's coming from them and they want their logo on it. So I have a template created, and Starship knows, hey, when the shipment's for Tractor Supply Company, generate this special packing list for them. Okay. So again, that's going to be box 1 of 2. Now, Starship is a certified solution. We're a certified vendor for FedEx and UPS. So things like our shipping labels are certified. For UPS, that's what this little icon means. So you don't have to worry about getting those labels certified. We handle all that. So there's box 1 of 2, 2 of 2. And then in this case, I have Starship generating all the different international documents. So shipper's letter instruction if you need, certificate of origin. As you see, all this information is automatically going to be filled out for the shipper. Same thing if we're doing LTL, bill of lading form, pallet labels. Okay, so out of the box, Starship has all those in the software. And then a commercial invoice. So all the information already populating for me. And as an example of customizing a document, this one I actually have signed and dated. So now as a shipper, this prints out. All I have to do is grab it off the printer. I don't have to fill out anything. A lot of my clients do that with the bill of lading forms. Just grab it, hand it to the driver. He or she signs it. We're done with it. I don't need to fill out anything. Okay? So like I said, we're going to click ship and process. Starship's going to just print out our documents, automatically take me right back to the main Starship screen, and basically rinse, repeat. Grab my next shipment or whatever the source might be, and I just go through that process again. Right? So now back inside of Sage 300, let me open that up, and I'll show you the write back. So again, in this case, we're just writing shipment to shipment. But even if I pull by sales order and had Starship create the shipment record, this is the same information that's going to write back. So as you see, we'll write back the freight amount to a miscellaneous code. You define that code. We'll just put that in there. And then on the customer tab, we can send back a master tracking number here. But on the actual totals, and actually let me go back, I'm skipping ahead here. Tracking information, this is kind of important. Here's our tracking numbers for each individual package. And then on the totals tab, we can even do a note. This is up to you what writes back here. Looks like some duplicate information, but hey, when was it shipped? Who shipped it? What machine were they on? ETAs, carrier, billing type. As you see, you can number of packages, tracking, additional tracking information can go in here, but that's really up to you again what writes back into that comment if you'd like. And then of course those the freight amount back into that miscellaneous charge total. Okay. So again, that's a live connection. As the shippers are processing, this information is automatically being updated inside of Sage 300 on the shipment record. Okay. And then, of course, we also include our dashboard program. So dashboard is a reporting tool. Again, it is included, does not require any additional user seats or licenses. So really anyone can get in here. Of course, I'm accessing it through the main Starship program. We do have it as just a single kind of standalone. So if someone in the front office, maybe they want to see, for example, history status, and it's up to them. They can even create these lookups on their own, what displays, as you see, add tables, add charts, but they can see what's processed, maybe what's voided. Maybe we have some late deliveries and we want to reach out to the customer. We could see that. Maybe I need some additional shipping information. I can actually drill down into that whole detailed intro, see what was shipped, even what package, can add tracking information here, or maybe the customer lost their packing list or didn't receive something that Starship generated, we can reprint the documents right from here. So again, really just a reporting tool, performance indicators, top statistics. Also in here, a bunch of canned crystal reports. We can do address correction, as you see, daily history, late delivery as a report, so on and so forth. Applied versus contract. Make sure you're not shorting yourself on your shipments. Just a bunch of canned crystal reports. And then in here is that e-notify program. So this is where I can see emails that have sent, anything failed. Maybe we have a bad email in the system. And of course, in my environment here, I don't send them, but I'll quickly show you an example for the shipment we just processed. Okay. So with this is going to allow you to create unlimited email templates. And then on those templates, of course, have your company information. Maybe you want to bring in 300 fields like the PO number, the sales order number. Maybe you want to let them know it's coming by a certain carrier, where it's going to. If you want, hey, you're going to get 2 packages. This ETA, that's coming from the carrier, so that's accurate. Then, of course, we have our item box detail. If you want, you can show the customer that, and including these tracking numbers, which will be hyperlinked, so the customer can click on that, and it will take them directly to the carrier's website, so they're not calling you. And then with these templates, for example, here I have one with this promo code. If you want to hyperlink promo codes, you can kick them right back to your website. Get them back to your e-commerce store so they can place more orders. But point being here is maybe I only want this special promo code to go to certain customers. I can have that set up, and then Starship would know to only send this template with that promo code to those certain customers. Okay. Great. So again, that's really what I wanted to quickly go over today. Of course, more than happy to schedule a deeper dive, a discovery call. We can also talk about the different options with Starship. We do have on-prem, but we also have a cloud version that really actually everyone's switching and using now. And we can talk about those differences, but pretty much everything I showed you today is all the same features, regardless if it's on-prem or cloud. It's, of course, going to be that same look and same feature. Really difference is coming down to pricing, where our cloud is going to be SaaS-based. So we have different tiers based on your shipping volumes, and you can pay month to month. Your first 30 days are free. After that, if you want, you can even switch and prepay for a whole year. If you do that, we do offer 15% discounts. But again, feel free to reach out to me. We can discuss further. But thank you for taking time to join our webinar, and I'll hand it back to Adrian.
Thank you, Matt and Peter. You will see the contact information up here on the screen. All right, everybody, take care. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.